Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new here then welcome. My name is Evelyn. So today is finally the day that I get to share all my DIY vases. I'm going to be sharing how you can give that vintage and aged look to a vase, and it is very budget friendly. I just used craft paint from Michael's and Walmart, which is about like $1 each. I also picked up one thing from Lowe's that was around $7 to $8, so it's very easy, very affordable. So if you saw the last two hauls that I shared, then you probably remember that I picked up some vases from HomeGoods that I mentioned that I wanted to paint, and I do apologize for not getting this video out sooner. I got so many comments and messages asking when I would post it because a lot of you actually found the vases at HomeGoods, so I do apologize for the delay. I'm not going to lie, being a mom of two has been a very rough. It's just very hard to find any me time and just time for myself to focus on projects and DIYs. But I finally got around to painting them, and it was so nice to step away for a bit and get that me time to create some DIYs for you guys. I love being able to create something. It just brings me so much joy. It's my form of therapy and filling my cup back up. And speaking of therapy, I did want to talk about today's sponsor, which is BetterHelp. As a mom of two going through my second postpartum journey, it has been rough and just such a huge life adjustment. But I've discovered that DIY projects are my personal form of therapy. In the midst of all the chaos and exhaustion that comes with taking care of my little ones, there's something incredibly soothing about immersing myself into a creative project. Whether it's stripping a piece of furniture, painting a vase, or building something, these activities allow me to step back from the demands of motherhood and focus on something that brings me joy and a sense of accomplishment. Like I mentioned, it's not always easy finding time for myself, but I've learned that prioritizing these moments of self-care is crucial to my mental well-being. As I'm doing the DIY project, I can feel all the stress, the anxiety, the overstimulation just start to melt away, and I start to feel a sense of calm and purpose. It's honestly a reminder that even in the midst of this challenging season of my life, it's important to fill my own cup so that I'm able to be the best version of myself for my family and be the mom that my girls deserve. Of course, DIY projects aren't the only way to prioritize your mental health, and that's where BetterHelp comes in. BetterHelp, the sponsor of today's video, is an online therapy platform that makes it easier than ever to access professional support. With over 30,000 licensed therapists in their network, BetterHelp can match you with a therapist who understands your unique needs and preferences. Whether you prefer video chats, phone calls, or messages, BetterHelp offers a variety of ways for you to engage in therapy from the comfort of your own home, which is perfect for us mamas. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed, or simply in need of some extra support, I highly encourage you to check out BetterHelp. You can visit betterhelp.com/evelynhernandez, or you can select Evelyn Hernandez at sign up so you can get a special discount off your first month of therapy. Remember that mental health is just as important as physical health, and with BetterHelp, that self-care is more accessible than ever. I know a lot of my mamas can relate. It's really hard to find that sense of identity after having a baby, so I hope this is the push that you need to prioritize yourself and get the help that you need. I'm so excited to be sharing all these DIY projects with you guys. I hope you guys get lots of ideas on how you can age your vases. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so here's a quick before of all the vases that we are going to be painting. Most of them are from HomeGoods except for the cream one. That one I picked up from H&M Home. Before the first vase, I know we have all seen these vases at Oliveateliersdupe. They are beautiful. I believe they are vintage Turkish olive jars, and when I was at HomeGoods, I saw this vase and it immediately reminded me so much of that Turkish olive jar, so we are going to try to recreate it. You're going to be needing 3 paint colors. I have tan, melted chocolate, and black. You can pick these up at either Michael's or Walmart. You're also going to be needing some baking soda, that way we can create a ceramic texture. So the very first step is you're going to be mixing the color tan with baking soda, and this is going to be our base layer. It's the perfect color. I am obsessed with this color, as you're going to be seeing in the rest of the DIYs. So I wanted to get rid of the orange color that the vase was originally. This color reminds me so much of clay, so it was perfect. So once that dried, I then went in with melted chocolate and black, so I mixed them together. The melted chocolate can be a little warm, so I like to cool it down by adding some black black, and it gives me the perfect shade of brown. So then I applied it to the vase using a wet paper towel. It's very important that you use a wet paper towel because it's going to make the blending process so easy. It's going to blend the colors so seamlessly. I used to use a dry paper towel and I noticed that it would pick up the base layer and it kind of left a print of the paper towel. So I started using a wet paper towel and oh my gosh, it made such a difference. So highly recommend using a wet paper towel. Like I mentioned, you're going to go in with that brown color and then you're going to blend it using that base color, which is tan. If you have watched any of my previous DIYs, you know that this is my technique. I add a darker color first and then I blend it using that base color, which is usually a lighter color. I have found that this technique makes my vases look very authentic and vintage. I don't want my vases to look DIY or like I painted them, so this works amazing. Again, you're going to be blending them with a wet paper towel. It's honestly going to do the work for you. You're going to see how easy they blend, and again, it's going to give you that very authentic and vintage look that we are trying to go for. And as you're blending, if you notice that some spots are too light, you can go ahead and dab some of that brown color, and vice versa. If you notice that it's too dark, you can add more of the lighter color. That's the beauty of paint. You can just go with the flow, see what you like. If you want it darker, then add more of that brown color. If you want it lighter, then add more of that tan color. Around the rim, I like to use a paintbrush. That way I can get into every little crevice and make sure that it is blended. Now the next step is we are going to be using again that melted chocolate and black combination, and we are going to be watering it down. And then you're basically going to soak a paper towel in it and you're going to dab it all over the vase. This is going to give you another layer. I wanted it to look like it was sitting out for a very long time collecting dirt. I also made sure to focus on areas where it would naturally collect dirt, so on the bottom of the vase, the handles, and around the rim. Another thing that I did was if I applied too much of it, I would then go in with a clean wet paper towel and kind of blend it together. It kind of picks up all the excess, so if you feel like you applied too much, you can go in with a clean one and it helps remove some of it. I am so happy with how it came out. It is exactly what I had envisioned, and of course I had to style it for you guys, so I styled it on my console table. I added some beautiful fall stems from a floral, and this is how it turned out. Now for the next DIY, we are going to try to recreate another olive atelier vase, and it is, I believe, another olive jar. These are usually very large, and recently I have found large ones at HomeGoods, but I saw these smaller ones first and they immediately reminded me of them. I did pick up 2 of them because I wanted to pair them together on a shelf, so we are going to again try to recreate that look. For this DIY, you're going to need the color linen, white, tan, melted chocolate, and black. You're also going to be needing some baking soda. I tried to use similar colors for all my vases, that way you can just go out and pick up these colors. The very first thing you're going to be doing is applying the linen color all over. I added baking soda once again, and I did do 2 coats, but for the second coat I noticed that the linen color by itself was a tad too yellow, so I wanted to make it brighter, and I mixed the color linen and white, and it gave me a perfect creamy white as a base layer. So if you're going to try to recreate it, I would suggest mixing the colors linen and white. Once that dries, you're then going to go in with the colors tan and linen. We're basically going to be using the same technique that we did for the first vase. You're going to apply the darker color, which in this case is tan, and blending it together with the lighter color, which is linen. Again, you're going to be using the wet paper towel to blend them, and for this specific vase I would focus the darker color on these little raised ridges that the vase had, and also around the rim. I I also worked in small sections, so once I blended the colors in one small area, I would then go in with a clean wet paper towel and kind of rub some of it off. I wanted it to look like it was aging, and this gave me that look that I was trying to go for. I didn't want the whole vase to be the colors tan and linen. I also wanted that white to peek through to give it more layers, more distressing. So again, blend those two colors together and then go in with a clean wet paper towel and start rubbing it off, but try to leave some of the darker color on these little, I'm not sure what they're called, but I'm gonna call them little ridges, and it's going to give you a very authentic look because usually these are the areas where they collect the most dirt and dust. I was lost to the menace of the night. As you can see here, I had blended the tan and linen color, and then I went in with a clean wet paper towel. I started gently rubbing it off. You're not going to rub the entire thing off. You're just trying to create a very distressed look. You want it to look dirty and aged, so I realized this was the best technique. Later on, we are going to emphasize the ridges with another color. Life can switch from light to dark. Loving you, that's the easy part. I can do this with all my heart. Tripped on love and felt you shook me out my shell. Now I know you well. Tripped on love and felt you shook me out my shell. Now I know. Okay, so once you're satisfied with how your vase looks, you're then going to go in with melted chocolate and black, and you're going to water them down. Soak your paper towel into it and start dabbing it on the areas where vases would collect the most dirt, which is usually around the rim and these little ridges that this vase has. So I focused mainly on those areas, but I also dabbed it all over the vase, and then I would go in with a clean wet paper towel to blend everything together. I wanted the brown to be mainly on the ridges and the rim, so I wanted it to have a very seamless transition to the other paint colors that we used. To know what I wanted, and now I do, and I will wait on you. It took a long time to know what I needed, and now it's clear whenever you are near. Forever holding out for you. It took a long time to find what I was looking for, and when it did, it all fit together. It took a long time to see what was in front of me. I can't lie, no matter how I try. Forever holding out. Forever holding out for you. So once I was completely done, I styled them on my console table and I added some stems, and here is how they turned out. This next DIY is hands down the easiest, and you only need one thing that is about $7 or $8 to recreate it. We are going to try to recreate yet again another Olive Atelier vase. I had seen one very similar to these last year at HomeGoods, and I picked it up and had been very afraid to touch it and mess it up, so I avoided it. But I finally found a technique that I wanted to try, so I went to Lowe's and I picked up some garden lime. I had seen two other creators, The Handwritten Home and Alyssa Kirk, do this on their terracotta planters, so I thought, why not do it on this vase? All you have to do is mix the garden lime with a little bit of water. Mine was a runny consistency, and it does take a while for the little beads to completely dissolve. Some of mine didn't even dissolve, but I just went ahead and started painting it all over the vase, and that is basically all you're going to do. I painted it all over, and once I had given the entire thing a good coat, I went in with my brush and kind of soaked it in the garden lime and pressed it on the rim so that it created these drips. I have seen a lot of these jars have drip marks, so I wanted to recreate that. I blended it on the bottom and I left it outside so that it can dry. I did a little time lapse so that you can see how it changes to this beautiful clay color. So don't be afraid as you're applying it if it looks a little too dark. It's going to dry to this beautiful light color, but I will say I'm not sure if the original color of the vase has anything to do with the outcome. As I mentioned, I have seen other creators do this on terracotta planters and it looks very similar, so I would give it a try on any vase. And if you don't like the outcome, I'm sure you can rinse it off, paint the vase to a lighter color, and then try the technique all over again. So once it was completely dry, I did do a second coat. There was a spot on the vase that I didn't like. Went ahead and painted the bottom third with the garden lime and using a brush, and you can see that it kind of leaves a mark on where I did the first coat and the second coat. And I also want to mention that I did not seal it. You can, but it may alter the color, so I decided not to, and as you can see, it does rub off as well as leave fingerprints on where you grab it. So I've been very careful and grab it underneath the handle. I styled it on my shelf, and this is how it turned out. Next up is another vase that I saw at HomeGoods. It had a beautiful shape, and although I loved the color and the distressing that it had, I wanted something a little bit more brown, and I remember seeing a similar vase on Pinterest, so I wanted to recreate something similar to that. So we are going to be using the same garden lime technique. I added some water and I just brushed it all over the vase. I also put it outside so that it could dry, and once it was completely dry, I went in with a paper towel. So I soaked it in that garden lime and started dabbing it in areas that it would naturally be darker in. So around this little ridge that it had, and also around the rim and on the bottom. So I just used a paper towel, dabbed it, and tried to blend it as much as I could. This was super easy to achieve, and I also styled it on my console table. I added some fall stems from a floral, and this is how it turned out. Last but not least, we are going to paint this vase that I got from H&M Home also a year ago. If you remember, I was originally going to recreate a designer lamp, but I had found an actual lamp to do that DIY. So it's been sitting in my decor closet, and we are going to give it a little makeover. I'm going to be using the same colors we have been using, which are tan, melted chocolate, and black. We are also going to be using baking soda to add texture and make it matte. So first things first, we are going to give it 2 coats of the tan tan color. I did add baking soda to get rid of the shininess. I wanted it to be matte and have a little bit of that ceramic texture. We are then going to go in with melted chocolate in black. Again, we are going to be mixing it so that we can have a cool toned brown, and we are going to dab it with a wet paper towel and blending it with that tan color. So it's very similar to the first vase, but for this one I did add a little bit more black to the brown, so it kind of gave me a very dark brown. It's a lot cooler, and if you notice, a lot of the vintage vases have these undertones, so I just wanted this vase to look very distressed. I didn't want it to look super vintage. I just wanted to add some character to it and make it look a little different from my other vases. So again, all you're going to be doing is dabbing the brown color and then mixing it with the tan color. So for the rim, I did go in with a detailed brush. I mixed the colors and then I used the wet paper towel to blend it all together. I am so happy with how it turned out. It is an in-between of something vintage, but also something very simple. I didn't want it to be too distressed, so it's perfect. I did style it on my new sideboard. I added some fresh olive stems, and here is the reveal. Alright you guys, that concludes today's video. Let me know down below which one was your favorite, if you're going to be trying any of these. I was so excited to share this video with you guys, and I'm so glad that it's finally out so that you guys can try all of these at home. I tried to keep it very budget friendly, only using craft paint from either Michael's or Walmart, and I did purchase that garden line from Lowe's that was just about $7 or $8, so it was very affordable. All of these are pretty easy, so I'm very excited for you guys to recreate them. I worked very hard on this video, so I'm so excited to see what you guys think in the comments. Like always, I will have everything linked down below. I will have all the colors that I used listed in the description box. Anyways, I appreciate all of you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye.